The phone rang at 6:47 a.m. My daughter Vanessa's name lit up the screen. I was in the middle of pouring coffee for my father and myself, our usual Thursday morning routine before his physical therapy appointment. "Marcus, I need you to sit down." Her voice had that sharp edge I'd learned to recognize over the years. The tone she used when closing a particularly difficult real estate deal. "I'm already sitting, Vanessa. What's going on?" "It's Dad. He had a massive stroke last night at home. The paramedics couldn't save him. He's gone Marcus. He died around 11 p.m. The coffee pot was still in my hand. I looked across the kitchen table at my father Robert, who was spreading butter on his toast, his hands shaking slightly from the Parkinson's, but otherwise very much alive. He raised his eyebrows at me, curious about the call. "The funeral is scheduled for Monday at Parkside Memorial." Vanessa continued, her voice steady now, almost businesslike. "I've already made all the arrangements. I met with his attorney yesterday. Apparently Dad updated his will 6 months ago. He left everything to me. The house, the Lake Norman cabin, his savings, all of it. You're not in the will, Marcus. I'm sorry, but that's what he wanted." I should have been shocked, devastated. Instead, I felt that familiar calm settle over me, the same feeling I got when dealing with a difficult parent at school conferences. I looked at Dad again. He was watching me now, completely still, his toast forgotten halfway to his mouth. "I see," I said quietly. Then I smiled. "Did you hear what I said? You get nothing. 0. I know you probably expected something, but I heard you clearly, Vanessa. Monday at Parkside. What time?" 2 p.m. "Marcus, are you okay?" "You sound strange." "I'm fine. I'll see you Monday." I ended the call and set the phone down carefully on the table. Dad was staring at me, his blue eyes wide with confusion. "What in God's name was that about?" he asked. I told him. Every word, the stroke, the death, the funeral arrangements, the will. As I spoke, the color drained from his face, not from fear, from pure rage. That conniving little... He stood up too fast, his chair scraping hard against the floor. His whole body was trembling now, and not from the Parkinson's. "She's trying to kill me for my money." "That's exactly what she's doing," I said. "And we're going to prove it." My father, Robert Holloway, was 76 years old and sharper than most men half his age. Yes, he had Parkinson's disease diagnosed 3 years ago, but it was early stage. A tremor in his hands, some stiffness in his joints. Nothing that impacted his mind. He lived alone in the 4-bedroom house where my sister and I grew up, the same house he'd bought with my mom back in 1978. She'd passed 12 years ago, and Dad had never remarried. He liked his independence, his routines, his weekly dinners with me and my 8-year-old daughter Emma. But over the past 4 months, something had changed. "Dad, when did Vanessa start visiting you regularly?" I asked, pulling out a chair and sitting back down. He thought about it, still standing, gripping the back of his chair. "Started back in September. She said she wanted to spend more time with her old man, make up for being so busy with work." He laughed bitterly. I actually believed her. "How often does she come?" "Twice a week usually. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. She brings lunch, we talk, she helps me with things around the house." He paused. "She always makes coffee." That word landed between us like a stone. Coffee. "Dad, you texted me 2 weeks ago. You said you'd been feeling dizzy, nauseous. You thought it was just the Parkinson's getting worse. Dr. Patterson said my medications might need adjusting. But Marcus..." He sat down heavily. "It only happens after Vanessa's visits. I never connected it until right now." I pulled out my phone and started taking notes. "What time does she usually leave?" "Around 3:30, 4 o'clock. And the symptoms start within an hour. Sometimes I have to lie down. Once I nearly passed out walking to the bathroom." His hands were shaking badly now. She's been poisoning me. We don't know that yet, but we're going to find out. I stood up and grabbed my keys. First, I need to get into your house before she does. Do you have a spare key with you? He pointed to his key ring on the counter. What are you thinking? I'm thinking if she's been putting something in your coffee, there might be evidence. Medication bottles, something she bought, anything that doesn't belong. I checked my watch. It was barely 7 a.m. She'll be at her office by now. I can get in and out before anyone notices. Take pictures of everything, Dad said. And Marcus, be careful. If she's capable of this, she's capable of anything. I drove to Dad's house in Dilworth, one of Charlotte's older neighborhoods, where the houses sat on tree-lined streets and everybody knew their neighbors. Dad's place was a brick colonial with white shutters, a wide front porch where he used to sit with Mom on summer evenings. I let myself in through the back door, moving quickly through the familiar rooms. The kitchen looked normal. Clean counters. His coffee maker in its usual spot, his medication bottles lined up near the sink. I started there, photographing each bottle, checking the labels, counting the pills. His blood pressure medication amlodipine 10 millilol should have had at least 40 pills left based on the refill date. There were only 12. My hands went cold. I opened every cabinet, every drawer, searching for something, anything unusual. In the trash under the sink, I found an empty pill bottle. No label. I bagged it carefully in a plastic sandwich bag from the drawer. Then I checked the coffee maker. Wiped it down, checked the filter. Nothing obvious. But when I opened the cabinet where Dad kept his coffee grounds, I found something that didn't belong. A small, clear bottle shoved behind the Folgers container. I pulled it out, hands shaking now. Prescription label, Vanessa R. Holloway. Medication, amlodipine, 10 mg. Dr. James Chen, MD. The same blood pressure medication Dad was taking. But this was Vanessa's prescription. I photographed it from every angle, then put it back exactly where I'd found it. My mind was racing. She was grinding up her own blood pressure pills, or maybe pills she'd gotten specifically for this, and adding them to Dad's coffee. An extra dose or two wouldn't kill him immediately, but over time, combined with his own medication, it would cause dangerously low blood pressure. Dizziness, nausea, confusion, chills, and eventually, in an elderly man with Parkinson's, it could cause a stroke. She was killing him slowly, methodically, making it look natural. I left the house exactly as I'd found it, and drove straight to my friend, Marcus Rodriguez. We'd taught together at Northwest Middle School for 15 years before he left to become a pharmacist. I trusted him completely. "Marcus, I need you to look at something," I said, showing him the photos on my phone. "And I need you to keep this confidential." He studied the pictures, his expression growing darker. "This is your dad's medication. Yes, but look at the pill count versus the refill date. And look at this." I showed him the photo of Vanessa's bottle. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked up at me, and I saw something close to fear in his eyes. If someone was taking double doses of this medication, especially an elderly person, it could absolutely cause severe hypotension, syncope, organ damage. And if it went on long enough— He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Could it cause a stroke? It could contribute to one, yes. Low blood pressure can reduce blood flow to the brain. In someone his age with his condition. He set my phone down. "Marcus, this is attempted murder. You need to call the police." "Not yet. I need more proof. Right now, all I have is a suspicious pill count and a bottle of medication that might not even be connected. A lawyer would tear that apart." "Then what are you going to do?" I thought about Vanessa's phone call, the funeral on Monday, the will she'd mentioned. "I'm going to let her think she succeeded," I said, "and I'm going to catch her at her own game." I spent the rest of Thursday at the public library, researching everything I could about elder financial abuse, murder investigations, evidence collection. By the time I picked up Emma from school that afternoon, I had the beginnings of a plan. That night, Dad and I sat at my kitchen table, while Emma did her homework in her room. I laid out everything I'd found. "Here's what I'm thinking," I said. "She believes you're dead. She's arranged a funeral. She's told people you had a stroke. If we expose her now, she'll just claim it was all a misunderstanding that someone gave her wrong information. But if we let this play out, she'll incriminate herself," Dad finished. "At the funeral." "Exactly. She's going to have to produce a death certificate coordinate with the funeral home, possibly meet with your attorney about the will. Every single one of those actions, if you're actually alive, is fraud. And if she's been forging your signature on documents..." I pulled out another set of photos I'd taken at his house, bank statements I'd found in his desk drawer. "Dad, did you authorize a transfer of $50,000 to Vanessa's account 2 months ago?" He stared at the statement. "Absolutely not. I would never." He grabbed the paper, holding it close, studying the signature. "That's not my signature. It's close, but look at the R in Robert. I always loop it. This is straight. She's been stealing from you too." The rage on his face was something I'd never seen before. My father was a gentleman, a retired electrician who'd spent his career helping people fixing things, making sure lights came on when they should. He'd coached my Little League team, taught me to fish, walked both Vanessa and me down the aisle at our weddings, and his own daughter was trying to kill him. "Monday," he said quietly. "We do this Monday." The next 2 days were a blur of preparation. I called the funeral home. Vanessa had mentioned Parkside Memorial, posing as a friend of the family, asking about arrangements for Robert Holloway. Yes, they had him scheduled for Monday at 2 p.m. Viewing at 1 p.m. The family had requested a closed casket. Of course she had. Hard to have a viewing when there's no body. I called Dad's attorney, Richard Martinez, who I'd known since high school. "Richard, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Did my father update his will recently?" There was a long pause. "Marcus, I can't discuss your father's estate with you. My father is sitting right here next to me, very much alive. My sister called me Tuesday, claiming he died Monday night, and that he'd left everything to her. Did you meet with her about a will?" Another pause, longer this time. "She called me last week, said your father wanted to update his estate planning. She brought in documents that she claimed he'd signed. I told her I needed to speak with Robert directly, but she said he wasn't feeling well, that she had power of attorney." His voice hardened. "Marcus, I never saw your father. I never drafted any new documents, and I certainly never told her he'd left everything to her. But you have Dad's actual will." "From 2019, yes. He split everything 50-50 between you and Vanessa, with provisions for Emma's education." I looked at Dad, who was listening on speakerphone. He nodded slowly. "Richard, we need your help," I said, and I told him everything. By Sunday night, we had a plan. Richard would be at the funeral with a police detective he knew personally. I'd contacted Dad's doctor, Patricia Lee, who'd examined him Saturday morning, and confirmed he was alive and well, and she'd documented his medication levels, which showed elevated doses of amlodipine in his system, consistent with poisoning. She'd be at the funeral too, and I'd called the funeral home director, explaining the situation, who'd agreed to play along. "This is either going to work perfectly or blow up in our faces," Dad said Sunday night. "We were at my house keeping him out of sight. Emma thought Grandpa was on a special trip. We'd tell her the truth later. It's going to work," I said. "Trust me." Monday morning, I put on my best dark suit. Emma was at my ex-wife's house for the week I'd explained there was a family emergency, kept the details vague. At 12:30 p.m., I drove to Parkside Memorial. The parking lot was half full. I recognized several cars, Vanessa's white BMW, my cousin Jennifer's Honda, Dad's brother, Tom's pickup truck. I sat in my car for a moment, steadying my breathing, then walked inside. The viewing room was decorated exactly how Dad would have hated too many flowers. Soft piano music playing photographs of him displayed on easels. I recognized most of them from his house. Vanessa must have taken them in the last few weeks. She was standing near the closed casket dressed in an elegant black dress, her makeup perfect, playing the role of grieving daughter. When she saw me, her expression shifted to something like concern. "Marcus, I'm so glad you came," she said, moving toward me. "I know this must be hard for you, especially with the will situation. I want you to know I didn't influence Dad's decision. He made those choices himself." I looked at her, really looked at her, and tried to see the little girl who'd shared a bedroom wall with me growing up, who I'd taught to ride a bike, who'd been my best friend before life and ambition and money changed her. I couldn't find her anymore. "I'm sure he did," I said quietly. The next hour was a strange performance. Relatives came up to me offering condolences. I accepted them, thanked them, played my part. Vanessa worked the room like a political candidate, hugging people, crying at the right moments, talking about how sudden it had been, how Dad had seemed fine just days before. At 1:45 p.m., a man in a dark suit approached Vanessa. I recognized him from the photos Richard had shown me. Detective William Foster, Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department. He was dressed like any other mourner. "Holloway, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm a friend of your father's attorney. Could I speak with you privately for just a moment?" She looked confused, but agreed, following him to a small side room. I watched Richard Martinez slip in behind them, closing the door. Through the window in the door, I could see them talking. Vanessa was nodding, answering questions. Then Detective Foster pulled out his badge. The change in her expression was instant. Confusion became alarm, became panic. She started talking faster, gesturing with her hands. Richard said something, showing her documents. Her face went white. The door opened. Detective Foster came out first, followed by Vanessa, who looked like she might be sick. Richard brought up the rear, his expression grim. "Ladies and gentlemen," Detective Foster said, his voice cutting through the quiet conversations in the room. "I apologize for the interruption, but I need everyone's attention." The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at him. "My name is Detective William Foster with CMPD. I'm here to inform you that there will be no funeral today because Robert Holloway is not dead." The room erupted. People started talking at once, confused, looking at each other, looking at the casket. My Uncle Tom actually walked over and knocked on it. "What the hell is going on?" someone shouted. And then right on cue, the back door of the funeral home opened. My father walked in. The room went absolutely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Dad stood there in his best suit, the one he'd worn to my wedding, looking very much alive, very much angry. He walked slowly down the center aisle, his cane tapping against the floor, his eyes locked on Vanessa. She made a sound like a wounded animal. "Hello, Vanessa," Dad said quietly. She started backing away. "Dad, this isn't someone told me you were—" "Someone told you I was dead." Dad's voice was steel. "Funny thing about that, you're the only one who knew I was supposedly dead. You made the funeral arrangements. You called your brother to tell him I'd died of a stroke. You met with my attorney claiming I'd changed my will." He stopped directly in front of her. "Who exactly told you I was dead, sweetheart?" She was shaking her head, mascara starting to run. "This is a misunderstanding. I received a call from the hospital." "Which hospital?" Detective Foster asked, pulling out a notepad. I don't remember. I was in shock. We called every hospital in the Charlotte area," the detective said. "None of them have any record of Robert Holloway being admitted, treated, or deceased." Then it must have been maybe the nursing home. I don't live in a nursing home, Dad said. You know exactly where I live, because you've been visiting me twice a week for 4 months, making me coffee, asking me how I'm feeling, watching me get dizzy and sick, and telling me it was just my Parkinson's getting worse, which the room was watching this like a tennis match. I could see my cousin Jennifer with her hand over her mouth, shocked. My Uncle Tom looked ready to murder someone himself. Dad, I was trying to help you. Help me. Dad's voice rose. By grinding up blood pressure medication and putting it in my coffee, by stealing $50,000 from my bank account, by forging my signature on documents, by arranging my funeral while I'm still alive. That's not I never. Vanessa's eyes darted around the room looking for support. Finding none. This is ridiculous. Marcus, tell them this is crazy. Tell them, I found your medication bottle in Dad's kitchen, I said quietly. The amlodipine, hidden behind the coffee grounds. I took photos of everything. The pill counts, the forged bank documents, all of it. She looked at me, then really looked at me, and I saw the moment she realized it was over. Her whole body seemed to deflate. Holloway, Detective Foster said, pulling out handcuffs. You're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, forgery, and financial exploitation of an elderly person. You have the right to remain silent. She didn't fight, didn't cry, just stood there as he cuffed her hands behind her back, as he read her rights, as the room full of family members watched in stunned silence. As they led her toward the door, she looked back at Dad one last time. I'm sorry, she whispered. No, you're not, Dad said. You're sorry you got caught. After she was gone, after the police had taken statements from everyone after the funeral home, staff had apologized profusely for the confusion after our relatives had left, in various states of shock and disbelief. It was just Dad, Richard, and me in that empty viewing room. How are you holding up? Richard asked Dad. He was quiet for a long moment. I raised her. I taught her right from wrong. I gave her everything I could, and she tried to kill me for money. He looked at me. Where did I go wrong? You didn't go wrong, I said. Sometimes people just choose wrong, make bad decisions. Let greed take over. That's not on you. Richard, what happens now? Dad asked. Now she'll be arraigned probably tomorrow. Based on the evidence, Marcus gathered the medication, the forged documents, the fake death certificate. She tried to file the false statements to the funeral home. She's looking at serious time. Attempted murder alone carries 10 to 20 years in North Carolina. Add in the fraud charges, the forgery, the financial exploitation. He shook his head. She'll be lucky to get out in 15 years. Dad nodded slowly. And my will, unchanged. Still the 2019 version. 50-50 split between your children with Emma's education fund. Richard paused. Do you want to change it now, given what's happened? Dad looked at me. What do you think? I think. I said carefully that you should leave her exactly $1. It's the legal minimum to show she wasn't forgotten. It proves you specifically chose not to leave her anything, and it makes sure she can't contest the will, later claiming she was accidentally omitted. $1, Dad repeated. A sad smile crossed his face. Your mother would have said the same thing. Always practical. He looked at Richard. Make it so. We walked out into the parking lot together. It was a beautiful October afternoon, the kind of day Charlotte does best. Perfect blue sky leaves, just starting to turn. Dad stopped next to my car and looked back at the funeral home. You know what the worst part is? He said. For about 5 seconds, when she called you when you told me what she'd said, I believed her. I actually thought maybe I'd somehow died and didn't realize it. That's how much she'd messed with my head these past few months. The dizziness, the confusion, the sick feelings she'd convinced me I was falling apart. But you weren't. You're fine. Because of you. He turned to face me. You saved my life, Marcus. You didn't panic. You investigated. You built a case. You protected me. You're my dad. Of course I did. Not every son would have. Some would have just believed it, accepted it, moved on. He gripped my shoulder. Your mother would be proud of you. I know I am. We stood there in that parking lot, and I realized something. I'd spent so much of my life feeling like the less successful child. Vanessa with her big house, her important job, her wealthy husband. Me with my modest teacher salary, my rented duplex, my old Honda. But success isn't measured in square footage or bank accounts. It's measured in character, in doing the right thing when it costs you something, in showing up again and again, even when no one's watching. Dad, there's something else, I said. When I was going through your documents, I found something. A savings account I didn't know about. It has Emma's name on it. His expression softened. I started that account when she was born. Been adding to it every month. Figure by the time she's 18, it'll be enough to pay for college. Maybe not Harvard, but definitely somewhere good. It's $80,000, Dad. $82,000, actually. As of last statement. He smiled. Your mother and I always said education was the best investment. I wanted to make sure Emma got that chance no matter what. I felt something tight in my chest. You never told me. I wanted it to be a surprise. For her 18th birthday, I was going to tell her together. He paused. Vanessa knew about it. I told her a year ago. I wonder if that's when she started planning all this. The pieces fell into place. The timing, the increased visits, the sudden interest in his finances. She'd seen that account and decided she wanted it all. Well, she's not getting a penny of it now, I said. Damn right she's not. That Friday, I went back to work. My students asked where I'd been, and I told them I'd had a family emergency, that everything was okay now. During lunch, the principal called me to his office. Marcus, I heard about what happened, with your father and your sister. He leaned back in his chair. I just wanted to say what you did investigating, gathering evidence, protecting your father, that took courage. And brains. You're a hell of a teacher, but you'd make a hell of a detective too. I laughed. I'm happy where I am, thanks. I know, but your students are lucky to have you. You show them every day what integrity looks like. That night, Dad came over for dinner. Emma was back from her mom's, and we'd decided it was time to tell her what had happened. We kept it simple. Aunt Vanessa had tried to hurt Grandpa. She'd made some very bad choices, and she was going to be away for a long time. Is Grandpa okay now? Emma asked, her 8-year-old face serious. I'm more than okay, Dad said. I'm perfect, especially now that I'm here with you. Can we still go fishing on Saturday? Absolutely. I wouldn't miss it for the world. After Emma went to bed, Dad and I sat on the back porch with beers watching the sunset. I've been thinking, he said, about what happens next. I'm going to sell the house. Dad, you don't have to do that. That's your home. It's too big for one person. Too many memories, and now too many bad ones mixed in. He took a sip of his beer. I was thinking I could buy a smaller place, maybe a condo, something with less maintenance, and maybe, he looked at me, maybe somewhere close to you and Emma. I'd like to see her grow up, really see it, you know. Not just weekly dinners, but if she needs help with homework, or you need a babysitter, or we just want to watch a ball game together, I'd like that. I'd like that too, I said. And Marcus. That money Vanessa stole, the $50,000. The police say I'll probably get it back once the legal process is done. When I do, I want you to have it. Dad, no, yes. You put your life on hold to help me. You investigated, you protected me, you saved me. That's worth more than $50,000, but it's what I have to give. He set his beer down. Please, let me do this. I thought about arguing, about telling him I didn't do it for money, that I'd do it again in a heartbeat, that he didn't owe me anything. But I looked at his face and realized this wasn't about owing. It was about gratitude, about a father wanting to help his son the way I'd helped him. Okay, I said. Thank you. Thank you, he replied. For everything. 3 weeks later, Vanessa's arraignment happened. I didn't go, but Richard called me afterward with the details. She'd pleaded not guilty, claimed the whole thing was a misunderstanding, that she'd been given false information about Dad's death and had only been trying to help with arrangements. The judge didn't buy it. With the evidence, the medication, the forged documents, the false death certificate, the stolen money, she was being held without bail until trial. The prosecutor is offering a deal, Richard told me. 12 years if she pleads guilty to attempted murder fraud and financial exploitation. If she goes to trial and loses, she's looking at 20 to 25. What do you think she'll do? Take the deal. Her lawyer knows the evidence is overwhelming, and 12 years is better than 25. She took the deal. In December, Vanessa stood in a courtroom and pleaded guilty to trying to murder our father. I went to that hearing, sat in the back row, watched her face as the judge accepted her plea and sentenced her to 12 years in state prison. She looked at me once as they were leading her away. I don't know what she expected to see. Anger, maybe. Satisfaction. But I felt nothing. No triumph. No vindication. Just a deep, quiet sadness for who she used to be and what she'd become. Outside the courthouse, Dad was waiting. He'd chosen not to go inside. Is it done? He asked. It's done. 12 years. He nodded. She'll be 60 when she gets out. I'll be 88, if I'm even still here. Don't talk like that. You're going to be around for a long time. Maybe, maybe not. But however long I have, I'm going to spend it with people who actually care about me. People like you and Emma. People who show up not because they want something, but because they love me. We walked to his car together. He'd bought a condo in Dilworth, 2 miles from my place. Small, manageable, perfect for him. Emma was over there 3 or 4 times a week now, doing homework at his kitchen table, watching old movies with him, learning to cook his terrible spaghetti sauce. You know what I learned from all this? Dad said as we reached his car. That money doesn't mean anything. The house, the cabin, the bank accounts, I would have burned it all to keep Vanessa from becoming what she became. But I couldn't. Because you can't save people from themselves. All you can do is love the people who love you back and let go of the rest. That's pretty philosophical for a Monday afternoon. He smiled. I'm an old man who almost got murdered by his own daughter. I'm allowed to be philosophical. I hugged him then, right there in the courthouse parking lot, and held on longer than usual. I love you, Dad. I love you too, son. Thank you for saving my life. That night I got Emma ready for bed, and she asked me a question I'd been dreading. Daddy, why did Aunt Vanessa try to hurt Grandpa? I sat down on her bed, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes people make really bad choices. They start thinking about money or things they want, and they forget about what's really important, like family, like love. But Grandpa is her family. He is, and that's what makes it so sad. She forgot that. She forgot that people are more important than money. Emma was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she said, I won't forget. I know you won't, sweetheart. You're a good person. You have a good heart. Like you and Grandpa. Exactly like that. 6 months later, on a Saturday in May, Dad and I took Emma fishing at Lake Norman. We rented a small boat, packed sandwiches and sodas, spent the whole afternoon on the water. Emma caught 3 fish bass, decent-sized ones, that Dad made a huge fuss over. We took photos, threw them back, caught more. As the sun started to set, turning the water gold and pink, Emma fell asleep against my shoulder. Dad was at the other end of the boat, his line in the water, not really fishing anymore. Just sitting. "Hey, Dad," I said quietly. "Yeah, I'm glad Vanessa was wrong." He looked at me confused. "When she called, when she said you died and I inherited nothing, she was wrong. I inherited everything. Every Saturday like this, every dinner, every moment I get to watch Emma learn from you. Every time you help her with her homework, or teach her something, or just sit with her. That's the inheritance that matters, and I have all of it." Dad's eyes got wet. He looked away out at the water, pretending to watch his line. After a moment, he said, "You always were the smart one. I learned from the best." We stayed out there until the stars came out, until Emma woke up and said she was hungry, until the rental place called asking when we'd bring the boat back. We packed up slowly, reluctant to let the day end, knowing we'd do it again next week, and the week after that, for as long as we both were able. As we loaded the car, Emma said, "This was the best day ever." "Yeah," Dad agreed, ruffling her hair. "Yeah, it really was." And standing there in the parking lot of that lake, my father alive and healthy beside me, my daughter happy and safe, I realized Vanessa had been right about one thing. I did get nothing from Dad's will, nothing but everything that mattered.